Hey everyone, it's Mark, your firefighter, realtor, and out-of-state investor. Today I have a special guest here, Josh Martin, and I kind of want him to explain his backstory and kind of tell you his handle out, his name handle.
So I'm the REI Stoners that you've probably seen on YouTube, and I don't know if you follow my Instagram or anything like that, but yeah, I go by REI Stoners. And a little bit of the backstory on how we're using that name or got the name was because we grew and extracted cannabis for a little while, and it was the way we thought that we were going to get to financial freedom. But yeah, we were definitely wrong on that one. Um, we got into it, and then we realized that it was a medicine. My wife has epilepsy, and we were really trying to find something that would help her. She went through different meds. All the different meds, anything that the doctor would kind of help us with, it didn't work. So we had a couple friends tell us that like a high concentrate of cannabis would help with it. We also heard about CBD would help. We kind of dabbled with that. It didn't do anything for us, anyways. People with epilepsy, it's everybody's different. So you never know what's going to happen. Some people, you know, uh, are affected for one reason. Like my wife, she sometimes, if it's light or a video game, or we're driving and the sunlight's going through the trees and you're going down the highway, and it's kind of like as you're driving, that right there can cause a seizure. So there's lots of different things that will cause it for her, and we just were looking for anything to stop it. She was having them once a week, sometimes even more often than that. So, but we ended up getting into the cannabis, and we ended up going big on it, and we decided, let's get some equipment, let's start extracting this the stuff he was talking about. It's just a high concentrate of THC. And basically, she started ingesting it first, putting it in baked goods and things like that. And what we noticed real quick was that, a couple weeks went by and she didn't have a seizure. And then she started realizing, okay, well, I'm going to smoke this. She started basically smoking it and ingesting it. We started making topical rubs with it. So she was rubbing it on her skin and anything, like I said, we could do. And then the seizures started subsiding even farther. All of a sudden a month went by and no seizures. And we were like, oh, this is great. And then, she'd have one, and then we would, obviously it was a drawback for us, and we felt bad. And, she's always had this mentality of, I'm just, I'm always going to be like this. But once like a few months passed, we were like, hey, we're onto something here. You just need to keep maybe taking more of it, or obviously they don't prescribe it anywhere, so we were just kind of guinea pigging it ourselves, which a lot of people have to do in certain states where it's not legal at all, and maybe they're trying to use cannabis for one reason or another, they can't, so they have to go to a different state. And for us, we were living in California, and it's pro cannabis state, so not that we were doing it legally by any means, but and I think when people get to the point where we at, they don't care. They, if there's not going to be any help for us, we're going to figure it out on our own. And so we started making it, and she started going. And I think it was like 6 months. She stopped having them. Then she had a fall back again, and then all of a sudden, I think it was like a year went by, and it was like, yes, finally a year's gone by, and you haven't had any seizures. So we kind of just kept that same regimen of what she was taking. And it worked. It started, I think she had a fall back again after a year or so, and then maybe after a year and a half. And then after that, it's been, I want to say, close to 6 years now that she hasn't had a seizure at all. So, it kind of changed her life. She was able to start getting a job again. She had a job at Walmart for a while, but she had too many seizures and they ended up firing her, which we didn't realize. We could have actually taken action for that, but we didn't know.
That
So
that's that is an amazing journey, and I'm kind of on a real estate channel, or social media. So I'm people out there are probably trying to relate, like, how does this cannabis story and real estate come together? And for me, I always see Josh. I always see the name REI Stoners in all the forums and chat rooms and on a lot of the channels that I follow. So I realized that this guy is into real estate, but the name just caught my attention. And I was always trying to put the two things together. And that's why I invited him on my channel, because I want to know more about how this cannabis and the real estate came together. So Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, do you have a portfolio? Are you renting right now? Or why are you always in these real estate channels that I'm on?
Well, it basically started a little over a year ago. We were still living in California at the time, and I had gone after we eventually we got arrested for doing what we were doing, and it was a big hit. And that's pretty much my why. When I was in jail for a month, I was like, I have to change, I have to do something. Obviously, I'm gonna probably still do cannabis because it's what I know, so I'll get a job at a legal place. And I kind of started getting jobs at labs and realized this is definitely not financial freedom either. So I finally landed a job in Monterey, California at another cannabis facility. And my wife ended up getting a job at Whole Foods. So that was kind of the start of her, kicking off her career. And for me, I just knew that I needed to do something different. And I was watching YouTube a lot, just trying to, all the videos of how to get rich and, how to make side hustles, all that good stuff, and, we're pretty much still there now. But what we found was a video of a clip of Robert Kawasaki's, how you say that, how you say his last name, but Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it was just, it was a game changer. I'm like, wow, I gotta check out this book. I think I heard about it from my brother-in-law in the past, telling me I had to read it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to read this book, but I don't like to read, it's hard for me to read. So I heard audiobook. So I'm like, all right, cool. But I actually found a version of it on YouTube and I was like, oh, this is great. So I listened to that every day on the way to and from work. I came home and just started listening to it instead of watching Netflix like everybody does, and I started getting an education, and it kind of, I checked out Cash Flow Quadrant after that. And then after that, I knew it had something to do with real estate because, the first book doesn't really tell you so much, but I'm like, all right, it has to do with real estate. I have to get into it. And then I found Bigger Pockets on one of the other thumbnails. And so I started following that for real estate and I got hooked. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I found Michael Zuber first. And I loved the whole just get to four properties. And I was like, oh, this guy's great. I love it. I'm gonna, he was one of the first people I started following. And, but, he talks about everybody being different, and he's obviously a lot different than I am. So, I kept looking on Bigger Pockets, and the next person I found was Dion. And that lazy investor was just, oh, what? Like, I'm a stoner, lazy investor. That's like perfect. I got to follow this guy, and his Bigger Pockets just blew my mind. Like, I was like, I love this guy. We got to meet this guy,
That lazy, sorry, but that lazy thumbnail or whatever for Bigger, that caught my attention too. And that's kind of when I first started following his channel also.
Right. I mean, he's just like, he tells it how it is because he's gone through it. So he knows what he's talking about. Everybody does it different. So, some things he won't talk about because he doesn't know about them. And that's great. I love that fact. I love how he talks about getting it from different people. So then I found the lumberjack, and, he's great for finding stuff for, I don't know much about properties. I should. I feel bad because my family's in construction. I mean, I know some things, but, for a majority of things, I'd probably have to get on YouTube and follow whatever a contractor was doing on there to do my floors, so.
No, that's amazing. So, you follow a lot of the same people that I follow, and the same concepts and mindsets, like Michael Zuber, Dion, Millennial Mike, Lumberjack Landlord. So that's where I see you in all these, lives and chats and commenting. So I love it. And I Rich Dad, Poor Dad is exactly kind of what changed my mindset. I mean, I don't know if you know my story, but I actually read that book maybe 20 years ago. and it didn't make sense to me. Like I just thought like this book is stupid. I was always told my home is an asset, and it just never made sense to me until I reread it, years later, and I'm like, this everything makes sense, and I wish I could go back in time, but as long as I got started. So I'm glad someone else read that book and it also changed their mindset and kind of put you on this path. So currently you are renting in Monterey, you said, or what is your plans now for real estate?
So we were renting in Monterey. What we did was we realized that looking around that area, like Michael Zuber says, so we kind of figured, okay, well, we're in Monterey. Let's go a couple hours out from here. And the big thing was we just didn't want to be somewhere where it was unpleasant. My wife bringing her on board to this was something where we kind of had to discuss it. It's like, I was the one getting into it and she had no clue. So we had to kind of figure out something. And she's like, yeah, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be there. And I'm like, I don't either. So especially our biggest drawback here, or our fallback, is going to be if we end up buying a duplex and something goes wrong, well, then we have a property, you know what I mean? And we'll have to keep paying on it. But we want it to be in a nice place. So we looked around. I looked several different markets, not thoroughly, but I looked around here, I looked around there, I kind of hit her up. She's like, nah. Some of them I hear some of the people you interview and they take a lot of time to do this. And once I started listening to these videos, like I'm a person who likes to take action. So I was like, I'm ready. Let's pay our credit cards down. Let's do everything we can. In 3 months, we paid our credit card off and we started figuring out how do we save more money? And one of the biggest things was getting out of California. So we ended up, after watching Dion's videos and stuff, I started realizing, okay, Washington seems like this is the place we should be. Let's go up and visit and stay up there for a week and go meet Dion and have some lunch with him. And he was willing to have lunch with us. And we drove up here and we spent a week up in Washington, just driving all over the place, looking at different areas. And we were like, okay, let's do this. So once we started, crunching numbers, I was like, this is pretty cool. Once we move into this apartment in, where we're at in Washington, we are going to save a little over $6,000 a year just from our move, So we knew that this was going to be a good thing. We're going to start saving even more money. So that was our whole goal, was just keep saving until we can figure out what we were going to do. But we did. Once we moved up here, we started, contacting lenders and trying to find out, what do we even qualify for? What kind of credit scores do we have? What are you guys going to look at? So one of the biggest things they said, because my wife had no credit at all. So they were like, she needs a credit card. So she got her first credit card. And it's been a year. So she just got her second credit card. So she's trying to build her credit to get it up. But, like a lot of people say, having no credit could be worse than having bad credit. So now we're just kind of trying to get her up there. She's around 700. I'm around 800. So I'm good. But as a couple, you both have to be up there in order for it to make sense. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Reaching out to different people. We got agents sending us properties. I got on Michael Zuber's course. Like I said, I took action immediately, and he had his course for like $200 and something. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a deal. Especially like he said, if he's going to keep adding to it, I'm definitely going to get this course. So I got the course and I, went through a lot of it. Some of the stuff I'm trying to not get shiny object syndrome. So I try not to look at it. I don't want to look at BRRRR right now. I don't need to, because I'm not trying to do it. So we're trying to stay steadfast, and we picked trying to do a owner occupy and a duplex, or most likely it's going to be a duplex, because we don't qualify for that. We qualify for almost 500,000. So if we can find something in that range, which up here, that's doable for us. Maybe we can even talk somebody down a little bit, so we can really get in there. But that's pretty much what we do. Zuber's course helped me run the numbers. And when I was in there, I was running the numbers every day. Didn't even know how to work Excel spreadsheets, like I said, I've been in cannabis. So I've been in a garage doing this stuff illegally for a long time. So I'm kind of climbed out of my cave, and now I got to learn social media and all this other stuff. So
No, before we get too far ahead, I mean, I kind of want to go back because you mentioned some awesome things I want to cover. And like one of them is about taking action, like you said. And to me, that's just amazing. Like, I think that's what holds a lot of people back in starting is that they're just waiting for the perfect time or they're waiting for everything to be in place. Like, like you're saying, right now you're trying to build up credit. But other people are trying to get their credit score to a certain level before they start, or they're trying to find the perfect market, or they're trying to do all this research before actually just, hitting the ground running, taking action and letting things kind of fall in place. So I think that's amazing that you just started and took action and you're kind of just letting things work itself in there as you're going along, because it's not an easy process and it takes a lot of time. I'm sure you know already, like, finding properties, talking to lenders, it's kind of an ongoing thing. And, if you waited till you were actually ready, you could have wasted so much time by getting knowledge and education and even understanding what market you're in. So I want to kind of touch on that because that's amazing that, you just started it. So was that something where it was kind of difficult to get your wife on board, as far as just going, getting into it, right away kind of thing?
yeah, right off the bat, I don't even think that I was willing to, like, I don't even think I wanted to mention this stuff yet. I really wanted to get a hold on what I was trying to learn at first, Um, I read the book, and of course you read stuff and you're like, oh, I read this great book, and you want to tell people about it. That was kind of some of the stuff that I knew she wouldn't care anyways. So I just kind of, didn't really say much. Once the book was over though, and I had so much good information, yeah, I just couldn't hold back. I was kind of we kind of gotta look into this, so I'm gonna, probably be researching a lot of this stuff, and she was like, yeah, fine, go for it, so she's always on board and supportive, but there wasn't a lot more than, we need to get into some sort of investing to create assets for us to make money so we don't have to work anymore. And that's kind of how I told her, because that's what I kept hearing, So as I told her that way, she was like, yeah, that sounds great. I don't want to work anymore either, So I think, with getting the spouse on, it's definitely something in the way you word things, Scott Trench talks some of his book, Set for Life, about how to, kind of talk about your spouse. And I love kind of some of the things he talks about, like, instead of, saying, hey, read this, say, is there something that you'd like me to read? I'd love to read that. If, maybe we can talk about it and then you can read something I'm talking about it and we can have a discussion on the books, which is something that people should probably be doing instead of watching Netflix so much.
No, exactly. I totally agree. I mean, I probably should have read Scott Trench's book years ago. It might have helped my relationship with my son's mom, and we, definitely. I mean, I hate to say it, we split up. We're on good terms, but splitting up did give me like that opportunity to kind of do things on my own and not have to kind of get somebody else on board. So I definitely feel that made my situation a lot easier. Like it was easier for me to take that plunge. And, I applaud people like you that, getting the spouse on board, and as couples, you guys are doing these things together, because, it's definitely it's not easy. I mean, just myself is not easy, but now to get two people on board to do something, it's definitely can be challenging. I also want to, you mentioned credit cards and credit scores. And that's something that, I'm trying to get to other people and talk to them about, is that there's so much things that we aren't taught while we're in school. Like there's so much things that we don't learn about. We learn about things to prepare us for working, but there's things like personal finance and things that we just don't know anything about. And that's what I'm finding out, is that's what wealthy people do, and what they're educated in is finances and business and credit score. There's some different, like Zuber like always says, there's the real estate side, there's the lending side, and you know what? There's actually like a credit side, as far as like your credit score, building your credit, how to build credit. And yeah, I want you kind of to touch on like how has that been kind of difficult as far as getting your wife's credit score up. And as for like you said, she never had a credit score before. So how has that been challenging for you?
Yeah, with that, we really didn't know. I mean, as far I've usually had a credit card. I've had one for 20 years now, and it just I always make my payments, and I just don't really think about it. But I really didn't pay them every day like Dion does. I was paying a monthly, and I was paying that extra fee, and I didn't really know how to use the credit card properly until a year ago when I was getting into this real estate videos and watching on YouTube, and I simply had to get on there and start, hey, how do you build your credit score up? And there was plenty of videos on YouTube, like everybody talks about it being a university. Definitely is. There's so many people on there that can teach you something. And the credit scores, there was one of the things that we learned was, if you only spend 10% of the amount of money that you have on the card, you're going to build your credit faster. So we started doing that. We never even knew that before. So we were like, okay, let's do that. Then we started watching one of the videos talking about paying it off daily, because you already are going to pay those bills anyways. So just run it through the card and gain points and travel for free. And I was like, wow, Amal, that's just mind blowing. How come I never thought about this? So, which it seems simple enough, right? So I'm like, and you think, why would rich people use credit cards? They don't need credit cards if they have so much money. Well, that's probably, they're doing the same thing, just getting free points and not spending their money and being smart, and using
Yeah.
the money they save for more investments.
Exactly. It's just another tool, right? It's just another tool that you use to help build your wealth. And like you say, getting points to travel. It's just it's just like another yield on a rental property. It's another return on your investment, basically,
Yeah.
using credit property. So that's I always people don't realize that, and that's something that I've learned when I started this journey. Is that same thing? I was like just you charge it, you pay it off in a timely manner, but it's really almost a game. Like you said, Dion, he pays his off daily. Other people are using like 0% credit cards, to finance things, but it's a whole game out there, and it's just another tool in the toolbox. And another thing I kind of want to touch on is you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And to me, most people that probably head down this path, that's kind of the first book that probably introduces them to this. And you mentioned something, and a lot of people, I guess, maybe don't realize it, or they don't ever talk about it. But like you said, that book doesn't really talk too much about real estate. It's kind of talks more about the mindset as far as building wealth or investing. So I kind of want you to touch on that a little bit, about maybe like where your mindset was before, as far as like planning for retirement and how you were going to grow older, and as far as after reading that book, kind of where your mindset shifted onto like this financial freedom path and whatnot.
Okay. As far as I guess retirement, like I've invested in stocks for a while. Just I had Apple stocks. I knew some of these, I mean, they had already gone up over time, but I just kind of figured, okay, I'm going to get some Apple, some Tesla, some of these, brands that seemed to be doing well, So I bought some of those, and I just kind of sat on them every so often. It was kind of going back to the pay yourself thing. But for us, I don't know. I think the mental shift was, I'd have to say for us, it was stop living our life like year to year. Like we would just basically make money and travel with it, and then our money was gone. And then let's do that again. We make money and then we go and travel on it again. And what are we going to do when we get older? We weren't thinking that far ahead. We've always just kind of been fly by the seat of our pants type of people. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people like that. They're not really thinking too much farther in the future, which we started to do. So that was the mind shift, as we started thinking, hey, look, we're going to be alive for this much longer. Let's start working on that future. Let's help those older us and give them something to live on, and not be working at Walmart as a greeter when I'm older. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't want to do that. I want to be on a beach somewhere. I want to be traveling. I don't want to know that all I had was this life that everybody else kind of gets herded into. I wanted to be part of that 1%. And he in the book just kind of makes it seem like, you know, if you're on that side, you're a loser, so to speak, you know, and, you know, especially the way that they were treated as kids coming into the office and things like that, you know. And I'm like, yeah, he, you know, he does really make it seem like you have to do this yourself too. You know, you need to run the numbers. You need to make these, come up with these ideas and find something to do, you know, with your life. You can't just feel sorry for yourself. You know, everybody probably has a story of why they can feel sorry for themselves. I have some stories. My wife has plenty of stories, but she just doesn't dwell on that and we move forward, you know. And I think the book has helped us a lot in that department, and that's why we took action so fast. Was, hey, look, let's get out of this other life we were living and let's jump into this life as fast as possible. And the fastest thing what's the first thing we can do is we can knock out this credit card that we had. One credit card, and I think it had around $4,000 on it, because after I got, you know, we got busted, we ended up charging stuff. We were kind of living that kind of life for a while, and the credit card was up to 10 grand, and we just kept paying it off, you know. And then eventually, once I heard that, I'm like, let's just pay the rest of it off. Because at the same time, we were still buying stocks, you know what I mean? So I wasn't paying the card down. I was still trying to buy other stocks and, you know, still thinking of assets, but in a different way, because, you know, I've been investing, I think, since 2007. And, you know, I started a portfolio, and once I got out of jail, we pulled all the money that we had in there, and we lived off of that until, you know, again, I was able to get a job, because I didn't get a job for, after that happened, for a good, I don't know, 6 months or so. So we had to have something to live off of. Yeah. And we didn't have a house anymore. So we were kind of like, we were homeless pretty much. So.
Oh wow, I didn't know. Okay, that's an amazing journey you've been on so far. So, I mean, you sound like you're on a great path right now. So, I kind of want to know, like, if the right property was to present itself tomorrow, would you be able to jump on it, you think, right now? Or are you still kind of in that phase of building up funds and still looking, you know, looking in your market or learning your market?
I'm definitely still learning my market. There's always room for improvement, you know, and I just moved here a year ago. So I'm, you know, on Dion's members only groups, and I'm asking questions about the area, because who better to know from him, you know. Also at the REI meetup last night, you know, I was talking to people, and I'm going to start driving some of these properties because I need to start looking at these areas. Regardless of how many hours I work, you know, I could work 10-hour days. I still need to go and beat through traffic and go check stuff out. So, um,
That's
but
awesome, your guys' group. I want to know more about that too, though, at another time. But like, how much people show up to those meetups that you guys go to?
with that meetup, Dan, there was like 15 people there easily.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
and Dion is in charge of that one, or he just shows he goes to those.
Yeah, he just shows his face.
Okay.
I think there's a couple other people that are in charge. You've probably seen Tony in his video the other day.
Mhm.
Tony's been in charge of setting those up. And then I think there's another guy, Steven, who also sets them up. So.
Oh man, that sounds like fun. If I'm ever in the area, I'm gonna hit you guys up. I'm gonna check it out. But that's awesome. But so I kind of want to go back a little bit to where you're at right now, and kind of what you're working on. So what would you say is kind of, I guess, the biggest obstacle right now for you to on this journey to picking up your first property?
Um, I think just having enough houses on the market. There's not a ton of them that are in our range. So I've run a lot of the numbers on them, and they just don't really make sense. So then it kind of comes down to waiting for days on market before I can, knock off something. We're really just trying to, this first deal, do it traditional, 30 years through the bank, no seller financing or anything. Just get our foot in the door. We are trying to get a base hit. I'm not trying to get anything crazy. But we do have money saved up. We've already got little over 40 grand in the bank now. We just keep saving. We put away about 3 grand a month. And so we have a good savings rate. And I think that's kind of the key right here. So every time I see a house, I just say, hey, look at these numbers. I show my wife, I'm all, if these make sense, this is how much we have. This is what we would put down. This is what our closing is. And this is what we got in reserves. We can actually, go for it on this one. Sometimes I do it and I'm like, we don't have enough money. We maybe have let's get more money in the bank for a little more reserves. Because the last thing I want to do is get into property and not have reserves. Michael Zuber's book, obviously, it tells you that at the beginning. And so I took that to heart and I'm all, nope, I'm going to have all my reserves and I'm going to be ready for anything that happens. So
that's super smart. I mean, same thing. I wish I probably found his book before I started my journey, but I tell people that's probably my biggest mistake and biggest advice to people is make sure you have proper reserves in place. And I'm glad I got started. I kind of scaled quickly to 14 properties, but I do feel like that's probably the biggest mistake I did make was not having enough reserves and probably scaling a little too quickly. So I think that actually kind of slowed me down a little bit now where I'm at right now. But as far as my advice to a lot of people is definitely make sure you plan well for your reserves. And we can go back to the whole credit stuff, but I had to get a little creative, and that's where credit cards came into play and whatnot. But that's for another time. But definitely reserves are super important. And like you're saying, getting a base hit, not getting caught up in all these shiny object syndrome is super, super important. Stay focused. And that first one, just get your feet wet because you're going to learn a lot. And I think that's also why I'm saying, scaling to 14 so quickly. It was, each property you can learn something, and trying to learn 14 different things possibly, at one time does, kind of accelerates the process as far as, kind of slowing you down in a sense, right? Going too quickly. And I think getting a base hit on your first one is super, super important, and you're going to learn a lot. And I'm just hoping to follow your journey and hear some good news soon that, you guys picked up, you found that property that you've been waiting for. So do you think in your market, do you see like possibly this, things picking up in the spring, or how's your market looking right now?
I mean, so that's something that I don't look up to see if more houses are coming on. I kind of look for you guys for that. I'm looking for your daily videos, Dion's videos, Millennial Mike. There's a lot of good stuff that I can kind of research out there. But right now we're just, I have a few agents and they're all sending me listings. And they're all in my wheelhouse. So basically I'm just doing them off the MLS. I'm just waiting for them to come to me. I'm running them, and like I said, we're just looking for a base hit. We're not trying to find anything too crazy. So I'm hoping that we're actually going to be, somewhat some competition for some people. But at the same point, we've been talking that if we can save for another year, we might be able to put 15% down, because we've been thinking about getting an FHA loan, and it's 3.5. So for the amount of money we have right now, we could definitely pull the trigger on that. So we're trying to figure out, should we get into that? Should we get into 15%? If we can wait one more year? So basically, like you said before, we could definitely get in now, but we can also wait a year. We're just waiting for them to come on down, So I think it's just kind of a matter of, let's see when they come.
I'm so excited for this story. This is just an amazing, from cannabis to prison or jail time, and now to looking for a house hack and relocating and getting your mindset onto financial freedom. So, if anybody new or is, doing the traditional 9 to 5, or, working, 40 hours a week and trying to figure out what they're going to do for retirement, what would you suggest to them as far as maybe like how to get started, or do you see networking as being super important, or what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I definitely have already tried to give a few. I think it's like Dion says too, you know, you start to try to talk to everybody about this because you're into it. And some people just are kind of, whatever. They hear real estate and they think, oh no, this is a huge, you know, red flag. This is where people lose their money, or the toilet thing in the middle of the night, you know, so they don't want to deal with that, you know. But I actually, there's a kid at work I've been talking to recently, and he's 20. So I was like, oh, this is kind of a, you know, fresh kid. Maybe I could kind of start letting him know about real estate now. And like, you know, he hears me talking with some of the other guys, and so now he's asking me questions, which I find that pretty cool, you know. So you know, not that everybody's going to get onto it like I did. I think just like you were talking about with your journey, we're all going to find that time when it's going to make sense to us, you know. So you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and it didn't make sense, and then you did when the time was right for it to make sense, you know. And trust me, I wish I could go back in time and to start this journey 20 years ago, but none of us can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we can invent a time machine down the road. That'll be our next business or something, and we could start this all over. But I also, we've had a great conversation about real estate and mindset and what your journey is. But I also want to touch on kind of your social media, YouTube. I've been noticing you posting a lot of videos on your YouTube channel, and has a lot of food and cooking and like maybe handyman type stuff. But tell me a little bit more about that.
All right, so I kind of got the inspiration from Millennial Mike. I feel like I don't really have anything to offer to make videos about, but you know, he's like, just talk about your journey, and that made sense. So I was like, all right, I'll start doing that. One of the things that I feel like maybe I have to offer is just to show people how we're being frugal. Like I said, we're putting away $3,000 a month, and we don't go out and eat ever at all. So when the REI meetup comes once a month, that's when I eat out. If she comes with me, you know. So that's it. We eat in. We have the staple beans, rice. You know, you could make with tortillas and salsas and things, quite a few things. So we eat a lot of that kind of stuff. My wife loves to make food. She makes everything from scratch, whether it be pizzas or baked goods. You know, she'll make pizza like once a week, and you know, she'll get the ball just sitting there, and it's kind of the dough blowing up and all that, and she just loves it. But it could be a little more expensive when we do make a pizza that she would probably have to sell for $50 to the real world, but we're not selling our pizzas, we're eating our pizzas. So, you know, instead of going out and spending money, we're going to make a beautiful pie here, and we're going to eat it at home, and we're going to enjoy it a lot better than being at a restaurant. So we try to do as many things as we can, and maybe I can get some of those videos out to people to show them, you know, how we eat, some of the fun that we still have without spending money. Just little things like that. My wife crochets and does a little side hustle with that. So, you know, just to kind of show people, hey, you can start a side hustle too, or you can do this, or you can do that. So we're kind of just starting there.
No, yeah, your videos are getting amazing too. So I think there was the not frisbee, but what were you guys doing?
Yeah, it's
That
disc golf, frisbee golf. There's different names for it, but yeah, you're on a golf course built for frisbees, and you just you buy the discs. They're about anywhere from $15 to $20 for a disc, and you buy a bag. I bought my bag for like $23, and you just cruise around the course. The courses are free everywhere. So it just costs gas money to get there, and the initial cost on the discs in the bag. And then we bring snacks with us, and we bring, you know, drinks with us. And the courses can be anywhere from 18 holes to 30 holes, depending on what course you go to. So yeah, it gives us a good workout. We hunt around in the forest for mushrooms. We're out there and just have fun throwing the discs, and it's very cheap living. So
yeah, I saw it. That one got a lot of views, right? That one had a good following on it, right?
yeah, I was amazed. I woke up in the morning for work. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, whoa. Yeah, I was watching it. Oh, yeah, your editing is getting super good too. I like that. But so as far as the social media side, I kind of maybe said it already, the editing, but what do you think has been the hardest part of doing the social media side of it?
The hardest part is just me in my own head, me basically saying, hey, start creating stuff for people. And the other part of me is going, nobody wants to watch your videos, you know? So that's the biggest thing for me is a lot of people are stuck in their own head. I'm one of them, so I try to do a lot of yoga. We started doing yoga back 2020 during the pandemic, and I do it every single day now for an hour a day. And it makes me feel good. I meditate now, and the meditation and all that just helps me be able to tell that other person, the negative person, to step aside and, keep going on my journey. So
That is awesome. So, I'm glad that you made time, to reach out to me and we could connect here and do this because I think your story is amazing. I'm going to keep following you because I want to know, when you get your property, your house hack, and how that journey is going. Even the cannabis side, I want to see if you go back into that business down the road. And for finding time, come on my channel. This has been an amazing conversation. But where can people find you if they want to reach out to you or just kind of, like I said, follow your journey?
yeah, I'm REI Stoners on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Those are about the only ones. I have a TikTok, but I don't even use it. I think I deleted it. So yeah, I don't use that one. But I'm trying to learn from you guys about how to do a lot of the social media. I did have an Instagram for a long time, just a lot of just me and my wife stuff. But now I'm kind of trying to gear it toward real estate. So
Yeah, I'm still learning too. I'm still trying to figure all this out. I reach out to Millennial Mike guys, Dion. So, but the same thing, just get started. Everybody's learning, and it's the same thing. You got to get out of your head and just put stuff out there. That's the one thing I'll give you. What advice I'll give you? Just got to do it, and you're doing an amazing job. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so before I let you go, I do this with a lot of my guests. As you can see, I'm kind of a big superhero fan. My son's got me back into it. He's 7 years old. So as far as you do you follow superheroes? Are you a Marvel or a DC type person?
oh yeah, I love them. I'm a Marvel person. I like them both, but I definitely like Marvel more.
Really? Okay. Is there any character or superpowers that kind of relate to you or that you resonate with?
Yeah, for me, that one's easy. Deadpool's my favorite.
Yeah, I can kind of see that actually. I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Deadpool, yeah, he's entertaining.
Yeah, he takes risks, he's a funny guy. So, that's kind of my personality. So, yeah, I'd definitely go with Deadpool. And he can regenerate if anything happens.
That is awesome. But you know what? Okay, so earlier you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Has there been any other book that kind of, as far as real estate or even just mindset, that has kind of put you on this path or helped you along this journey?
Yeah, Phil Jackson's book, 11 Rings, that's a book that kind of just gave me more of the mental focus part to it also kind of, he's a coach that's trying to teach a bunch of people with different personalities. So it kind of teaches how to build team. And a lot of what I keep hearing in real estate is building teams, especially if you're doing it out of state. And eventually we might want to go that route. So, yeah, 11 Rings by Phil Jackson. It definitely helped me also with the meditation process and trying to just ground myself from, having that other person that just keeps coming in and trying to, be negative, and I want to be positive.
So now that you say that, are you a Lakers fan?
Yes, I am. Big
Okay.
time Lakers fan.
Okay, so who is the greatest Laker of all time?
I mean, in my book, it's Kobe Bryant. It was during the time when I got to watch him play all the time. And so it was that's the guy for me. Magic Johnson's great too. If I was to ask my dad, he would say Magic.
Who would be your starting five for the Lakers then of all time?
Oh, you can't ask me that. That ain't cool.
Oh, I would say if I had to pick, I would pick Magic, Kobe, LeBron, Shaq. You know what? I think I put Jerry West at 2. Jerry West at 2, Kobe 3, LeBron at 4.
I'm telling you, this is hard stuff right here.
It is. But some people don't count LeBron as a Laker, I guess, right? So it's kind of he's not a true Laker. I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah, I guess for me, I kind of feel, not that I don't feel like he's a Laker. He's definitely a Laker, but for me, like I said, I love Kobe Bryant. He was there his whole career. Those loyalty type things, I love it when there's a player there forever, you know. So that's cool for me.
all right. Well, next time you can give me your starting five for the Lakers then.
Maybe I'll do a short someday.
Ah, there you go. Bye. But everyone out there, you know, go follow Josh, go follow REI Stoners, but also please like, subscribe to my channel, and just keep looking for those great deals out there.